Iran and Israel are in a state of war. In the last 1 week, both Iran and Israel have targeted multiple locations, multiple areas in both the countries, whether it be nuclear sites, whether it be military installations, or whether it be a targeted assassination of a military establishment of both the countries. Now, in the last 1 week as well, International Atomic Energy Agency, which is a nuclear watchdog of the entire world, it has passed a resolution against Iran citing non-compliance, nuclear non-compliance. Now, in this major escalation which is going on in the Middle East region of the world, at least 100 people have died so far, and multiple hundreds of people have been injured so far. And there has been targeted assassination of at least a half a dozen of important military personnel, nuclear personnel of Iran in this particular time frame. Israel has hit more than 100 targets in Iran, including different nuclear facilities, missile sites, and has also killed senior military commanders and scientists in Iran. Now, satellite imagery shows a significant damage done to the area of Natanz nuclear site, which is one of the most prominent and one of the most significant nuclear enrichment facility in Iran. Also, alongside this, several nuclear research centers in Iran have also been hit. Now, amongst the senior military figures which are killed in Iran, one of them is the Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces. That is one very key military position leader which has been killed in Iran. Other is the commander of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. That is the commander of IRGC in Iran. He has also been killed. And at least 6 Iranians, nuclear scientists, have been killed in this particular attack. Now, over the last 1 week and in the last weekend, Israel has also hit Tehran region of Iran and has also claimed that the skies of the capital city of Iran is now under the control of Israel. Now, the defense military headquarters, nuclear enrichment facilities, missile sites, and different other sites and regions in Iran have been targeted by Israel in the last 1 week. And the reason is just one. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cited that Iran was going to develop a nuclear bomb, a potential nuclear bomb. And then the enrichment facilities in Iran had reached a level where Iran was capable of making at least 9 nuclear bombs for the entire world. Now, preempting the situation, Israel has launched a unilateral attack on Iran, and Iran definitely retaliated back, declaring it as a state of war. Now, Iran also, in retaliation, launched several missile attacks on Israel region, killing at least 15 people till now and injuring more than 300 people in Israel. So different locations like Tamra, Batyam and Tel Aviv, different regions have been targeted in Israel by Iran, and especially the usage of hypersonic missiles could be seen in this particular attack. Now, while this very intense conflict in the world in the Middle East region is going on, Israel, before launching an attack against Iran, had already informed United States of America about this particular attack. So US knew beforehand that such type of attack is going to happen, but Iran has clearly stated that if US, France or UK or any other country tries to protect Israel against the attacks which Iran will do against Israel, then Iran would consider that other country which is helping Israel as the aggressor as well. And also, Iran has warned US, UK and France that Iran would be targeting their military bases, their ships in the region as well, if they helped block the Iranian missiles and drones in retaliation for Israel's attack. So if they help Israel in any way or manner, Iran would be attacking US, UK, France, ships and naval facilities as well. However, we can see that UK is moving its jet and other military assets to the Middle East region, and UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has refused to rule out defending Israel. And US has also given statements in favor of Israel. So US is also definite in protecting Israel against Iran. So US is with Israel in this particular war, and the UK is also with Israel in this particular conflict. Now, what is this whole issue all about? What is the key bone of contention between Iran and Israel? Why they are fighting? What is the reason for conflict between the two countries? What is the axis of resistance? And what is the implication of this conflict in the Middle East region and in the security of world at large and the global geopolitics surrounding this particular issue and a potential solution? All these things we'll be trying to understand in this particular session. Hello, my name is Preetpal Singh and you're watching Perspective. Now, while justifying the attack on Iran, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stated that they had preempted a situation where an Iranian program was ongoing for creation of a nuclear bomb. And he also suggested that Tehran is having the ability, or was having the ability, to create at least 9 nuclear bombs which would devastate the whole world. And also the International Atomic Energy Agency board, they have ruled and passed a resolution that Iran has violated its obligation under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So the nuclear NPT, where Iran is a signatory, and also IAEA has suggested that Iran is not complying with its inspections, and also it is amassing estimated around 400 kgs of enriched uranium, which is helpful in creation of nuclear weapons and nuclear assets. Now, this is Israel's version. But on the other hand, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei has highlighted that rather than targeting the nuclear sites and military establishment of Iran, Israel has targeted the residential areas and the civilians of Iran, which is why several civilians, and according to Iran sources, multiple hundreds of civilians in Iran's region has been killed due to this strike made by Israel. And they have also threatened Israel of severe punishment of this attack which Israel has perpetrated against Iran. Now, while this issue is ongoing, if you remember a few months back, Iran and US on the back channels on diplomatic levels started talking about their nuclear deal. Now, this meeting which was to be happening in this Sunday, this meeting has also been called off between Iran and US. Although United States Secretary of State Mark Rubio has very categorically said that US has not taken a part in this military strike of Israel against Iran, and US is not involved in this, and he has described this attack as unilateral. Although US President Donald Trump has said to the reporters that he was already aware of this attack, and on the sidelines on the back end, he's already negotiating a deal in this particular regard. Now, it is very important for us to understand that what is exactly happening in the Middle East region and what is this issue all about. Now, let us try to understand this issue at its core, and it all can be traced back to 1979. Now, even before that as well, there have been skirmishes between Iran and Israel as regions, as diplomatic powers as well. But actually, the genesis of it can be seen in 1979, which is the era of Iranian Revolution. So after the formation of Islamic Republic of Iran, Iran categorically stated that its Shia dominance rule is against the Jew-dominated Israel. See, Iran is governed by Shia Islam and Israel is a Jewish state. So definitely there are ideological and religious differences between the two which are extremes. So that is one bone of contention. Other bone of contention is that from the start itself, Iran has questioned the formation of Israel. And Iran has said that we won't be giving status of a country to Israel because they believe in the region of Palestine. And recently they have been talking about the two-state solution, which earlier India also used to be calling off, that is Palestine and Israel, different countries altogether. Which means that from the inception itself, when Islamic Republic of Iran was formed after the Iranian Revolution in 1979, since the inception, since 1979, the relation between Israel and Iran are sour, which means they are not good at all. Okay, but that is one part of the story. The other part of the story is that Israel over the years has developed itself in a very superior way in terms of military and defense related capabilities. And so has Iran. Now, who will dominate the Middle East region? That is the question. And Iran definitely would want to dominate the Middle East, and Israel would also want to dominate the Middle East region by siding with United States of America, because Israel and United States of America's relationship is very good. Now, one thing we have to understand here, to reduce the influence of Israel in the Middle East region and also to contain Israel as a power and to support Palestinians, Iran has made an axis of resistance. So we sometimes hear about a proxy war. Proxy war means not a direct war, country to country or government to government between Israel and Iran, but a proxy war where Iran has made certain proxies, which means there are certain terrorist groups in different countries alongside Israel, which Iran supports from the back end. That is a proxy war, which means Iran and Israel are not in a war, not waging a war against each other in official way, but in an unofficial way, Iran is supporting the people who are waging a war against Israel. That is a proxy war. Now, right now, there is a full-fledged war between the two, but earlier there used to be a proxy war. Now, why there was a proxy war? Because Iran definitely wanted to contain the influence of Israel, which is why Iran, as I told you earlier, made an axis of resistance. Now, what is this axis of resistance? See, if you see Israel, first issue which is going on in the world, in the Middle East region, a very prominent issue is Israel-Palestine issue, which means Palestine region, where there is one terrorist organization or a militant organization, so to say, country, that is Hamas. Now, that Hamas organization, which is fighting against Israel in the Palestinian region, that Hamas organization is supported by Iran. So that is one proxy. That is Hamas military group in Palestine region. Now Israel also shares border with Lebanon. Now in Lebanon as well, there is one proxy group of Iran which Iran supports, and that is Hezbollah. Now we have made a separate video on Lebanon and Israel, that is Hezbollah-Israel relations and Hezbollah-Israel conflict as well, because that was also the conflict which was going on few months back. Now Israel and Hezbollah, they are also in a major conflict. So Israel is in conflict with Hamas. Israel is in conflict with Hezbollah. Both are given training, both are given weapons, both are given equipments by Iran. Now there is one country, that is Yemen. In Yemen there are Houthi rebels. Now those Houthi rebels are also given money, are also given resources, and are backed by Iran. And those Houthi rebels are also against Israel. So Israel is waging a war against Hamas, it is waging a war against Hezbollah in Lebanon, and it is waging a war against Houthis in Yemen. And alongside this, there is a Popular Mobilization Forces, PMF as well, in Iraq. So Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, that is also one proxy group of Iran itself. Now all these different military organizations, militant organizations we can say, which are against Israel, are supported by Iran in one way or the other. And this axis which Iran has made to contain the influence of Israel in this region and to make sure that Israel is not able to grow properly, this axis is known as axis of resistance. And Israel definitely over the last many decades has been able to successfully deter and successfully deal with this axis of resistance. But the question is, why go for a proxy model? Why not a full-fledged war against Israel? See, the proxy model, first of all, it minimizes the risks and the costs of a full-fledged war, for Iran especially. Second, it gives a certain degree of deniability to Iran in certain situations, and it also supports actions against Israel. So basically what Iran wants is being done by Iran not taking the full responsibility for it also. And also to reduce and tie down the military capabilities of Israel. This is one way which is used by Iran to make Israel wage a war in multiple fronts in different areas, so that Israel is not able to focus on one area specifically, which is also a very important reason, which is why Israel has not been able to successfully win against all. Israel has been till now able to defend its country to a very great extent, but still, since there are different militant groups, and that too spread in different geographical locations, attacking Israel is now trying to find a different method, a different way to come out of it, and which is why right now Israel has thought that rather than fighting these proxy groups, let me fight their leader directly, that is Iran. Which is why now Israel has directly targeted Iran by giving a reason that Iran is trying to make nuclear bombs. And Israel already knows that because if Iran is successful in creating a nuclear bomb, it has now come to the forefront. And from proxy war, it has come to a full-blown conflict, a full-blown war between the two countries. This is how the arc has turned out to be. Also, one thing which you have to see over here is that in the last 2 decades, Iran has been hell-bent over creation of nuclear capabilities. Now, Iran wants to create nuclear weapons, and Israel is against it, and so is United States of America, and so is different other countries as well, especially Europe and developed nations, that if Iran makes a nuclear weapon, it would pose a definite threat to the whole security of Middle East. This is believed by several nations, which is why Non-Proliferation Treaty, which came into force in the year 1970, Iran was made to sign that particular treaty. So Iran is a signatory to the Treaty of Non-Proliferation Treaty, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1970, which states that the 5 countries who are having nuclear weapons, they would not share the nuclear weapon technology to any other country. And all the other signators or signatories of the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, Non-Proliferation Treaty, they would not make any nuclear weapons. And they would only use nuclear technology for civilian purposes, and that too, they won't create any new nuclear technology. Which is why, by the way, India is also not in favor of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, because India says that it divides the world into nuclear haves and have-nots. Because this treaty very clearly says that the countries which already have nuclear weapons by the year 1960s, which are 5 countries, P5 nations, which is US, UK, Russia, China, and France, these countries, they can maintain the nuclear weapons with them, and they will try to disarm the nuclear weapons, and eventually they try to reduce the nuclear weapons and do not share the nuclear weapons with any other countries. But other than these five nations, no other country can produce nuclear weapons. That is there in the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and Iran is a signatory to that. India is not a signatory to that, by the way. But Iran, despite being signatory, by the year 2000s, started creating nuclear weapons. Or at least we can say, started enriching uranium. And enriched uranium is used for just one purpose, creation of nuclear weapons. So which is why US and other countries, they started putting several sanctions against Iran. So by the end of the year 2000s, by the start of 2010, several sanctions were put against Iran by United States of America and several European nations. Which is why from 2013 to 2015, there were multiple dialogues, multiple events of talks which took place between US, a group of P5 nations plus one more country, that is Germany, and Iran, and which culminated into the 2015 very famous Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. We call it as JCPOA. Now, under this Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, US and other European nations would slowly reduce the sanctions put against Iran and eliminate some sanctions as well. And Iran, on the other hand, promised that they won't enrich their uranium to a very great extent, and they would limit the uranium enrichment program, and also they will not produce any nuclear weapons and would use the technology only for civilian purposes. But in 2018, a very different thing happened, or a very important event took place. When Donald Trump became a president of the United States, he pulled back from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action.
That the United States will withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal,
making Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action actually zero and nullifying it to an extent. Now, after 2018, Donald Trump, he again put sanction against Iran, and then again started negotiations with Iran, where he says that Iran will have no nuclear weapons at all. And he says that JCPOA, which was signed by Barack Obama with Iran, this JCPOA is against American interests.
It didn't bring calm, it didn't bring peace, and it never will.
This is what Donald Trump used to cite. And in the last 1 year itself, there were news that again the talks between US and Iran has resumed.
Now, indirect talks between Tehran and Washington have resumed in Vienna. The talks aim to salvage the 2015 nuclear deal.
But while this news came, and while few rounds of talk happened between Iran and US, Israel again attacked Iran.
And in breaking news coming in, the Israeli Air Force conducted airstrikes on Iran, with explosions being heard across Iran's capital, Tehran.
Infrastructure.
And this is the recent news, which is in the last 1 week. Hundreds of people in Iran has been killed because of Israel's suspicion that Iran might be creating a nuclear bomb. Now, this is the entire story, this is the entire arc, and this is the entire game, which shows you that why Iran, Israel are at crossroads, what is the role of US in this regard, and what is the role of other European nations also in this regard. Where we understood Non-Proliferation Treaty as well, where we understood axis of resistance, and different other core themes in relation to the global geopolitics, especially of the Middle East region. Now, while all these things are going on, one more question which might arise in your mind is that what are the implications of these things on India, on different other countries in the world, and the global security narrative also? What are the different implications of it? So the first very big implication of it is that it might escalate the proxy conflicts even more. Now, because of this direct conflict between Israel and Iran, the proxies of Iran, which is Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis and PMF, they might retaliate. And they might open a new front of war against Israel as well, which is again a new headache for Israel from all these different fronts, from the front of Palestine, from the front of Lebanon, from the front of Yemen, from the front of Iraq. So which is why that is one very problematic point. Now, another very problematic point is destabilization of fragile states. See, many of the countries which are in a state of war are very fragile. Their economy is in ruins, people's standard of living is very poor, and eventually all of the economic indicators and social indicators of those countries are not doing really well. And this war even might put those countries to the brink. Now, countries like Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen, and different other countries can see a surge of violence again. and a surge of war. And while this will be going on, a very definitive impact was seen in the stock market and in the economy of different regions as well, especially who were oil dependent. So because we know that any such issue which arises in the Middle East region, if a war starts, if hypersonic missiles and different drone attacks take place in the Middle East region, biggest threat is to oil supply. Because if oil supply gets disrupted, the price of per barrel in the market goes very much up. And if the price goes up, it leads to inflation in a lot of countries which are importing oil, especially India. So a direct impact for India could also be seen, where the price of crude oil in the international market would rise. And the import bill for developing countries like India would also surge high. And also this impact could be seen on the stock market as well, where Sensex and Nifty, they fell by a few points. They fell by a few percentage points. And different other indexes in the world as well, stock market indexes in the world, also bore the brunt. Now, other than that, one more implication is in relation to trade, especially maritime trade. Now, merchant navy, which is very prominent in ensuring maritime trade in the whole world, that those naval ships, they are very skeptical at this particular point of time to move across the Middle East region, especially the Strait of Hormuz and different other straits and different other channels across the region, which is why a huge loss, billions of dollars of loss to trade and higher cost of logistics for the trade is also one of the negative implications. And other than that, the talks which were resumed between US and Iran, which could have made Iran not make any nuclear weapons, those talks are also derailed. And again, a new effort needs to be made by both the sides to start the talks again. And other than that, because of this conflict, Middle East region again remains a region of conflict. A region which is full of conflict, a region where progressiveness, economic prosperity, social prosperity is far-fetched than a dream. This conflict again has reiterated that point and has again made Middle East region as a hub of the global conflicts in the entire world, which is definitely not very good sign for the people who are living in that region, for the children who are living in that region, for the elderly people who are a part of that region. So definitely there are geopolitical concerns, there are tactical concerns, there are military security related concerns. But other than that, two concerns which many people miss are economic and social implications and social concerns as well. Now, because of this conflict, direct full-fledged conflict between the two, if we see right now in the world what all conflicts are going on, we will see that the entire world right now is fueled with major global conflicts. Whether it be India and Pakistan issue where Pakistan is perpetrating terror against India, whether it be our neighbors, Myanmar is in a civil war, Bangladesh is in a war-like situation. So there are issues in Bangladesh, there are issues going on, conflicts going on in Myanmar region, there are conflicts which are going on in between Russia and Ukraine, conflicts going on between Israel and Hamas, Israel and Lebanon, which is Israel and Hezbollah, Israel and Houthis, Israel and Iran, and different Syrian conflict is going on, Yemen crisis is going on. Right now, if we see, the entire world is a hotbed of conflict, hotbed of wars, where every single day, now we are not including Sudan crisis or Congo crisis or African crisis right now, but if we include that also as a part of it, then right now in the world, because of these global conflicts, because of these global wars, thousands of people are dying daily. Hundreds of children, innocent children are dying, thousands of women, thousands of people are dying on a daily basis. And because of what? Because of these conflicts, because of these wars, which are usually related to territory or ideology or different beliefs. Now, but the logical question is that, okay, this is the entire issue, this is the problem, these are the implications. What is a logical solution? See, according to several experts who are experts of geopolitics, they say that the two-state solution is a very genuine solution which might solve a lot of problems in the Middle East region. That is one. Second, of course, which every expert says, is dialogue and diplomacy. So Qatar and Oman, these are two countries who have been trying to involve dialogue and diplomacy between the two countries and between different players as well in order to mediate. So mediators are required rather than escalators in this particular conflict. See, ceasefire should happen. United Nations, European Union should intervene in this particular part. And alongside this, agreement between US and Iran should be brokered very quickly. So because only way right now to win over Iran is dialogue. Because militarily, if we try to bow down Iran, they would definitely retaliate. And in retaliation also thousands of people would die. And while we are targeting Iran, again thousands of people in Iran would die. The only way out is dialogue and diplomacy. Definitely certain tactical measures should be there, but those should be very short term in order to end the violence at the short term perspective, in a short term way. But if you look at long term perspective, dialogue and diplomacy goes a very long way. Now, organizations like Gulf Cooperation Council, Arab League, or different other organizations as well should take a part in it, should play a amicable role in dialogue, in resolution of disputes between the two countries and different other partners which are proxies of Iran, and eventually a long-term vision for Middle East should be given to these countries. Because Middle East has been a hotbed of conflict since the last 1,000 years. Until what point it will go on, we never know. And majorly the core part of it is very religious and ideological. But we need to try in this 21st century, in the era of artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, we need to ensure that such type of events, such type of conflicts do not escalate. And a long-term vision, 2050 or 2100 vision for Middle East needs to be developed by these countries in order to ensure better standard of living for their citizens. And eventually normalization of relationship between these countries should be the eventual aim. That is ensured, we will ensure peace and stability in the region, in the whole world, in the world order as well. I hope you are able to gain a new perspective from this particular session. Do let me know what are your views in the comment section. I'll be very happy to read them. All the very best. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.